Coverage you can count on. Action 2 News at 10 starts now.
You've probably heard that noise, the sound of rumble strips warning drivers to be on the alert. You may hear it even more now, but not everyone likes the sound of that.
We have to look at this differently. We have to look and say, that's not a nuisance noise, that's the noise of saving people's lives.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. Brown County emergency crews responded to 2 separate and serious crashes last weekend. In all, 3 people were killed.
And the sheriff's office says those deaths all happened because drivers went through stop signs. When Target 2 Investigate started asking questions about safety, we discovered there used to be rumble strips at one of those intersections, warning drivers of stop signs on County Highway Z where it intersects with G.
Sarah Thompson found out why those safety measures were removed in the first place and why there's a new push to bring them back.
It's very concerning.
Every time there's a serious crash in Brown County, Highway Commissioner Paul Fontecchio drives to that location. He met us at Highway Z and G, the site of the most recent double fatal, and the crash that bothers him maybe even more than others.
There was rumble strips behind us, and they were filled in September of 2015, I believe.
Fontecchio gave the okay to remove the rumble strips that community members tell Target 2 were installed on Highway Z because of another fatal crash at that intersection back in the 90s. Fontecchio says the noisy alerts were placed in a lot of highways back then, but in the last decade, the trend shifted to removing them as rural areas developed and more homes popped up.
There's only one big reason we're not using them, and it's sound.
Fontecchio showed Target 2 the emails from 2015 when the town of Morrison repeatedly asked to have rumble strips on Highway Z removed.
Here we listened and we filled them in, and I wish I didn't. I wish I hadn't. So now I'm reassessing.
Since their removal, the Brown County Sheriff's Office says there have been 2 major crashes there, both involving drivers missing the stop sign. This month's double fatal and one that resulted in serious injury in May. No one can say for sure whether rumble strips would have prevented either crash, but Fontecchio thinks any step to prevent distracted driving needs to be taken.
This would be a good candidate, I think, to put those back in.
Fontecchio showed Target 2 a Federal Highway Administration study from Iowa and Minnesota, finding a 39% reduction in fatal or serious injuries where rumble strips were installed.
The intersection definitely needs to be addressed. To default back to the rumble strips may not be the right choice.
Tom Kempen is the chairperson for the town of Morrison and agreed to talk with us by phone. He asked the county to remove the rumble strips 3 years ago on behalf of his constituents and agrees improvements must be made there. But he says other options should be considered.
One of the possibilities certainly is to turn it into a 4-way stop.
He and other board members are also suggesting an overhead red flashing lights around the stop sign itself, a roundabout, or even adding a second stop sign on the left side of the road, giving people distracted by Waymar Park on the left side another chance to spot a stop sign. He wants drivers to be safe, but says sound is a concern.
I mean, you got to understand, we live in a rural area here, and it's generally very quiet.
About 10 miles away at County Highway PP and Mancal Road, rumble strips now warn drivers of an approaching stop sign. The Highway Commissioner put them in after a fatal crash there last fall. Target 2 wanted to see just how loud the rumble strips are. We downloaded a popular decibel meter app and placed our phone right next to the road. The highest reading it registered was 64 decibels, what it classifies as normal conversation. We did talk with homeowners who live less than a quarter mile from those rumble strips who tell us they only hear them when they're outdoors.
This is how many.
The Brown County Sheriff's Office says 14 people have died in 11 crashes at rural intersections since 2016, and they favor any safety improvements.
And the unfortunate thing is you might make 1, 2, or 3 or 4 people unhappy because of those strips. So, what do you balance versus what's best for the community?
Fontecchio plans to give this detailed report to a county supervisors committee tomorrow, detailing specific criteria for installing rumble strips in more locations across the county. That's things like speed, line of sight, and places drivers just don't expect to stop.